outside of ourselves, the totality of the thing that is not me. So when I experience everything, I experience something as myself, and everything else is not me. So this not me, is it one thing or plural? From Greek philosophy, these are some, as I said, everlasting problems in philosophy. In Greek philosophy, you have Heraclitus, you have people who say, no, this is plurality, and in no way you can reduce it to unity. Parmenides and other people, they're proponents of unity, that ultimately, at the end of the day, there is a unity that underlies this. So you could say, in a sense, Kendi is in the camp of Parmenides, those who say unity is the underlying force and there is a unifying factor. And based upon this, he asked the second question, what is this unifying factor? What this unifying factor is? And yes, in philosophy, these questions repeat themselves in different contexts and they receive different answers based on different backgrounds.
Okay, thank you. The second question is the understanding of the universe by Kendi. If he says that everything has a starting point, or in other words, everything was created. So does that also that everything, does it apply to God, or it's only created things?
No, it only includes the created things. It's like unmoved mover of Aristotle. Everything is in motion, and everything that is in motion should have a start point in the motion. But something that does not have motion doesn't need a start point. Or a necessity and contingency. So they postulate something that does not have the same property. Why? In order for this whole chain to exist, to have the motion, because they need a point of reliance. Everything that has a point of a start needs a point of reliance, which should be startless, which should be eternal. But that startless, that eternal being, what it is another. Even materialists, they believe. Even those who don't believe in a God, naturists, they believe that naturalists is something else. Naturalists and materialists, they believe that there is something that is eternal, but it's matter, it's plain matter. It doesn't have any quality of intelligence or personality. No, it's plain matter. It just changes form. From this form to another form, every Big Bang happens and it gets a new shape, a new form. One of the forms was this form that is based on the design. Like a million, billions of other accidents took place, and it didn't result in a design and organized order. One of the Big Bangs that took place, it was the design that we see. This is the ultimate atheism that we have nowadays. And still they believe, because they cannot, human mind cannot understand something coming out of nothing. Something that is like just from nowhere, the matter comes out of nowhere. Yes, the form could be the result of accident, but the matter should always be existing, underlying. So yes, they postulate all, you could say all the schools of philosophy, believers, non-believers alike, they postulate an eternal being. But the fight is over who that eternal being or what that eternal being is.
Yes, I wanted to add to what you were saying. Yeah, so I remember when we began with Egypt Greek philosophy, at some point we got to understand that we can categorize the ancient philosophers into two groups. Like there is this group that believe that at some point something must have come from nothing. And there are those who also believe that at some point something must have come from something. So more of something coming out from something, we have like Anaximenes, all those trying to find out like some give like examples like air, water, fire, because they believe that at some point there should be something that we all came from. So I just wanted to add that, yeah.
Yes, yes, it's related to the discussion of archai. Archai is that principle. So yes, as you said in Greek philosophy, there were different theories about what that archai is. That archai is air, fire, or does it have any order in the circle of becoming something? Is it there is a circle of the round of something? So yes, but I don't remember now. If anything, if anyone in the school of human thought has been there to believe that not the form, but both the form and matter of the universe came out of nothing. Not a creator and nothing. So those who say the universe comes out of nothing, they believe the form comes out of nothing. The state of singularity, they believe in the state of singularity, that something existed. That matterness, it took, I mean he or it can't be referred to as a he, it's a it. It shaped itself, or through an accident came to look like this. The order, and cosmos means something that has order. But now I don't remember if anyone has been there to believe that both form and matter of universe came out of nothing in the plain word, like no creator and no precedence, just matter came out, or the form and matter together came out. Anyway, ideas related to nature, he talks about the first principles of the natural body, the properties of a natural body, extension, the 3 dimensions, and then related to nature and natural body is the soul. One of the, again, things in philosophy is that we should we talk about human soul in natural philosophy or metaphysics. In both of them, it has been discussed. Like, even by Aristotle, in De Anima, Pripisuche, about human soul, or about soul, which includes also human soul. Aristotle extensively talks about human soul, and later on, Theophrastus has classified this book under the natural philosophy of Aristotle. Later on, there are discussions about human soul in metaphysics, the aspects of the soul that could not be explained through natural philosophy. The same thing is here. So Kendi is following the same tradition of Aristotle. Later on, for example, when you go to Kant discuss human soul in one of the ideas of metaphysics, divine philosophy. He says God, universe, and human soul. One of the ideas that the intellect has there, and he comes into paralogies, something like that, if you remember, it's human soul is there. Anyway, definition of the soul, incorporeality of the soul, that soul is immaterial, duality of body and soul, some of the classical things about human soul, type of soul and their functions, vegetative, animal, and human. Again, at this level, we don't have any difference from what Aristotle said in Pripisuche. Related discussions, space, vacuum, motion, time, some of the things that they're attractive to these people, whether, for example, vacuum exists or not, a place without anything in it. It is the discussion, it is the topic of the vacuum. Or the motion, what happens in motion? As you know, Aristotle introduced 2 concepts of matter and form in order to explain motion. How does motion takes place? How can we make sure that the thing itself remains, identity, remains the same after something is set on motion? For example, you plant a seed and then there is a tree. Nothing is similar between the seed and the plant, but you say it's the same thing. What is the factor that makes you believe it's the same thing? So Aristotle said we have a matter, we have substance. Substance means what? Something that stands at the underline. Sub means lower of something. Or ousia, and then you have properties. Properties change, but that thing remains the same. and it gets new form, eidos, new, and form, it came from shape, but it came to mean more than something, more than shape, something that even the shape remains the same, but the form of something changes. For example, when the person dies, what has it lost? The human body, the form, which is the soul. So the shape remains the same after the person is dead. When you look at it, it's the same. Everything is the same. But it is the matter that does not have a form in the Aristotelian sense. So all of them started when Aristotle wanted to explain motion and the totality of that being in motion. And time, the nature of time, what it is. Kendi's role in Islamic philosophy, the philosopher of Arabs. Some Arabs are very fond of Kendi because in the whole history of Islamic philosophy, Kendi is the only philosopher who is Arab. The rest are non-Arab. So some Arab thinkers, they feel more interest in Kendi. And difference between translator, original thinker, and systematic philosopher that I said, mainly Kendi is known to be a translator and a bit of original thinker, but not a systematic philosopher. At this stage, Islamic philosophy has not yet established its own systematic philosophy. It's just random ideas, mostly borrowed from Greek philosophy, without any change. Yes, there are minor contributions, but it's not yet the unique Islamic philosophy that we know in later philosophers. If there are questions, please go ahead. If not, we go to Farabi. Apparently, there are no questions. So, Farabi. Now, Farabi is known as the second master. At this level, I think the time only allows us to have a little biography of Farabi, which is more fun to listen to. Now, this person is from northeast Islamic land, which falls to nowadays in Turkmenistan, I think. He lived in both 3rd and 4th Islamic century, which is around like 9th, 10th Gregorian century. And he is Latinized as Al-Farabius. And as I said, he was born in the far east of Islamic land, which is Middle Asia, Central Asia. And then he immigrated to Baghdad. Baghdad nowadays is the capital of Iraq. At that time, it was the capital of the Islamic Empire, Abbasid dynasty. And most of his life he spent there in Baghdad because there were like great schools and somehow universities there. And then he went to Damascus. Where is Damascus? Damascus at that time, now we know it's the capital of Syria now, but the name comes from the mosque. There was a great mosque, Amavid Mosque, because Damascus used to be the capital of Amavid Empire, and they had a great mosque there. And Crusaders, I think, on their way to the Holy Land, they would pass through this building and mosque, and they would call it the mosque, or Damascus. Later on, it was known to be Damascus. And but to Muslim, it was not known as Damascus at that time. It was known as Sham, the Levant, the city of the center of the Levant. Later on, and nowadays, it's known as Damascus. So he traveled to Damascus and Egypt, and again came back to Damascus, and apparently passed away in Damascus. So some of the teachers that he learned philosophy from, Yohanna ibn Haylan, Nestorian cleric. He was not a Muslim, but he was close to the court of Abbasids. Yohanna is the Arabic pronunciation of John. Interesting, isn't it? So John, does it mean John? Does anyone know? Well, we have people who has the name John. If they don't know the meaning of the name,
It means gift of God.
means what?
Gift of
Yes.
God.
Gift of God.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Check.
Okay, I should check. Well, Yohanan or Yohanan in Greek, in Arabic it means John. Baltazari Malik. Okay, what is your translation?
Yahweh is gracious.
Yahweh is gracious.
Yes.
Okay. It might be the case. I think this is closer to the Arabic word. Let's do our search for the next session. Anyway, Yochanan, later on known to be John. There is a story about why Ye and J are replaced in Latin. Because J and I are close to each other. It's a funny story why this happened. In Greek, in Hebrew, nobody says Jacob. It's Jacob. Or for example, in Yahoo, Joseph, nobody says Joseph. They say Yosef or something like that. Why the Ye vowel turned into J has a story. You can refer and learn it. So John is the short form of Yochanan, Yohanan. Even nowadays, the disciple of Jesus, John, in Arabic they call it Yohanan. Even the name you can say it's a Christian name. He was a Nestorian cleric. My understanding of the meaning of John and Yohanan is different, but let me refer to. In Swahili, it's Yusuf or Yusuf. Yes, Swahili, I think it's because it's influenced by Arabic. But even the original Hebrew, it is not pronounced as J. J is something later on in Latin it happened. And there are other examples of how J and Ya are replaced. So Nestorian Christian, Nestorians at that time in the Levant, where communities of Nestorian lived there. Nestorian, very heretical denomination, according to the Byzantine Empire, according to the Roman Empire. Roman Church and Byzantine Church would not recognize Nestorian as Christian, so they had to live in the outskirts and the margins of the Christendom. So they were the first who came into contact with Muslims. And they were learned people. They had books, libraries, they knew philosophy, they knew many things. So, because of that, they had good places in the court of Muslim kings. Nestorian, many of the advisors of Abbasid empires and caliphs, they were Nestorian Christians. And they were teachers of either the royal members, the members of royal family, the kids of the caliph, or other people.